Hi, boys and girls. Welcome back. My name is Miss Henry, and I will be your instructor for today. Boys and girls, I hope that you're doing well and that you're taking care of yourselves. It is very important for you to do so during this time. Our lesson focus for today, SOL 5.6C and D. Identify the main idea and summarize supporting details. Our learning target, I can identify the main idea and summarize supporting details in a non-fiction text. What you will need for your instruction today: a pencil, a sheet of paper, or if you have a notebook, that's fine. I'll give you a few seconds to grab those materials. Boys and girls, while you're grabbing your materials, I have for you today a riddle, and the response to the riddle will be revealed at the end of the lesson. So please stick around for the entire lesson to find out the answer to the riddle. And the riddle reads, what is white? It is a dairy product and it is a beverage. I'll repeat. What is white? It is a dairy product and it is a beverage. Both Mr. Ape and I will be thinking about the response to this riddle, and we both will be sticking around to the end of the lesson to find out. Let's continue. Yesterday, we looked at identifying the main idea in nonfiction text. Today, we will continue working with nonfiction text, and we will also continue using our guiding questions as we identify the main idea and supporting details within our text. What is the topic or topic sentence of the paragraph or passage? What does the paragraph say about the topic? What does the author want us to know about the topic? Boys and girls, once you have identified the topic or topic sentence of the paragraph or passage or your text, you read the following paragraph or paragraphs which follows to identify the supporting details, which will help you to make inference as to what your main idea will be. While you're doing so, you consistently ask yourself, what does the author want me to know about the topic? We also looked at what the main idea is not. We said that the main idea is not the theme of a text. Remember, boys and girls, the theme of a text tells us the moral, lesson, or message the author wants us to learn from the story, while the main idea tells us what the story is mostly about. The main idea is also not opinionated. By opinionated, we mean that you do not share what you think in the main idea. The main idea is also not a summary. The main idea will help you to write a summary. The main idea is included in the summary. But remember, boys and girls, the main idea is not a summary. Here are additional strategies that we looked at. Use titles and headings. Use topic sentences. Use concluding sentences. Look for repeated ideas. Repeated ideas may be repeated words or phrases throughout the passages. Use concluding sentences. Concluding sentences are always at the end of the passage or paragraph, so you have to read the passage or paragraph through its entirety. For today, we're going to be working with two nonfiction passages, and we will be using a graphic organizer to help us organize the details from the passages that will help us to determine our main idea. On the screen, you have a graphic organizer that we're going to be using. I will give you a few seconds to draw your graphic organizer for the first passage. The first passage, I will model for you how to identify the details, summarize them, and then write your main idea. The second passage, you will be doing the same on your own. However, we will go through the responses towards the end of the lesson. Our first passage, boys and girls, as you notice, it does have a title. And the title of this passage is called, or the title of this passage is A New Way to Help the Poor. Now, once I read that title, boys and girls, I immediately asked myself, what does the author want me to know about a new way to help the poor? I'm not sure, but I am sure that as I read each paragraph, there will be details or evidence there to tell me what the author wants me to know. A new way to help the poor. As I'm reading, I'm going to be looking for repeated words or phrases. I'm going to be looking for anything that is connected to a new way to help the poor. As the daughter of a wealthy Illinois businessman, Jane Addams did not have to worry about money. However, she was concerned about the poor. During a trip to Europe, Adams visited Toynbee Hall, a settlement house in London. Settlement houses were places offering free services to the poor. I'll stop at the first paragraph, boys and girls. While I was reading, I noticed the word poor repeating itself a few times. And I also noticed settlement house repeating itself. So from this, I can infer that the main idea will be centered around the poor and settlement houses. Let's go on to the next paragraph. Inspired by what she saw in London, Adams opened a settlement house of her own in Chicago in 1889. Hull House was one of the first centers of its kind in the United States. It helped many families who had just arrived from Italy, Germany, Russia, and Greece. The center offered classes, childcare, food, and helped with finding jobs. Boys and girls, while I was reading, I was asking myself, what is it about the poor that the author wants me to know? The second line says, Jane Addams was concerned about the poor. And because she was concerned about the poor, she opened a settlement house of her own in 1889. This settlement house was one of the first centers of its kind in the United States. These details help me to determine that my main idea will be centered around Jane Addams opening a settlement house to help the poor. Now I'm going to move these details from the passage to my graphic organizer so I can have a better look at them. Detail 1, she was concerned about the poor, which we did highlight that. Detail 2, let me get this out of the way. She opened a settlement house in 1889 to help families. Detail 3, one of the first centers of its kind in the United States. When I summarize all these details, my main idea, in 1889, Jane Addams opened one of the first settlement houses in the United States to help poor families. Boys and girls, it is very important for you to pay attention to the details that you are identifying, because all the details, when you summarize them, when you put them together, should help you to determine what the main idea is, and the main idea should connect to the title. The question I asked myself, what does the author want me to know about the topic? The author wanted me to know that a new way to help the poor, Jane Addams opened a settlement house to help poor families in 1889. Now, boys and girls, we're going to be moving to the next passage. Let me clear all my drawings from here, from the screen. And this is where you're going to be working on your own for a few minutes. For your passage, you will need a graphic organizer, just like what's on the screen. Please go ahead and draw your graphic organizer. You have 2 detailed boxes and 1 main idea. Okay, our next passage, we can see clearly that it has a title and it has a few other text evidence on it. The title of the passage is The Louisiana Purchase. Please go ahead and read carefully. Boys and girls, let's read together. The Louisiana Purchase. As I read the title, I'm asking myself, what does the author wants me to know about the Louisiana Purchase? In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson completed a treaty with the French government to purchase a large section of land in North America. This land is known as the Louisiana Purchase. The purchase was important to the future of the United States. It was the first major expansion of the United States since it had won its independence from Great Britain 20 years earlier. The territory gained in the Louisiana Purchase was the largest in the United States history, totaling 828,000 square miles and 23% of the current United States land area. The Louisiana Purchase also secured the United States' right to passage along the Mississippi River and allowed access to the important port of New Orleans. So, what are we thinking, boys and girls? While I was reading, the first detail that popped out to me, or the first detail that popped out to me as I was asking myself, what does the author wants me to know? The author wants me to know that the purchase, it was the first major expansion of the United States. So this purchase was the first major expansion of the United States. Then the author also wanted me to know that this purchase allowed the United States, the Louisiana Purchase, let me highlight here, allowed the United States right to passage along the Mississippi River and allowed access to the important port of New Orleans. Those are my details that I will summarize to help me to determine my main idea. I've moved these details to my graphic organizer. The Louisiana Purchase was the first large expansion of the United States. That's the first detail. The second detail, the Louisiana Purchase allowed the United States passage along the Mississippi access to the important port of New Orleans. When we summarize these details, we can infer that the main idea of this passage, or the author wants us to know, that the Louisiana Purchase was important to the future of the United States. It was important to the future of the United States, and we could see we could have already identified the main idea within the first part of the passage. The purchase was important to the future of the United States. And when we summarize these details. It supports what the author wants us to know, the main idea. The Louisiana Purchase, boys and girls, was important to the future of the United States. I'll give you a few seconds to clarify your notes if you need to. Okay, boys and girls, this brings us to the end of our day 2 instruction. Let us review what we learned about today. Our learning target was, I can identify the main idea and summarize supporting details in a nonfiction text. That we did using graphic organizers along with our main idea guiding questions. What is the topic or topic sentence of the paragraph or passage? What does the paragraph say about the topic? And what does the author want us to know about the topic? Boys and girls, as you complete your at-home practice, I want you to think about those 3 questions. Your at-home practice is a worksheet that I will reveal to you in a minute, right after we have revealed the answer to our riddle. What is white? It is a dairy product and it is a beverage. How I solved the answer to that? I looked at the 3 parts of the riddle. It is a beverage. We know that a beverage is something that we drink. It is a dairy product. We know that dairy products are made of milk. And of course, it is white. So something that I drink that is made of milk, of course, it is milk. Let's see. Oh, voila, our answer is milk. Now let's look at our at-home practice worksheet. Here we have it, boys and girls. This is a passage that you will be reading and identifying the main idea. The graphic organizer is already there for you. You will need some crayons as well to identify your supporting details in blue and your main idea in red. I'm sure you will enjoy doing this worksheet. Until next time, have a great afternoon and be safe.